It's like we have started. How's it going, everybody? Different parts of the world in different time zones. Early for some, late for others. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Yeah, I think the UK is just waking up now. So if you're from there, it's good to see.
Yeah, good to see. My name is Sam. I'm from Sendmarc. Blake, you can introduce yourself.
Yep. So I just wanted to say welcome to our webinar, Protecting Your Business from Impersonation, Why We Care About DMARC. My name's Blake, and as Sam introduced, I'll introduce him first. So Sam is the CEO of Sendmarc, which is a email impersonation platform, protection platform that he will go through in more detail. And I'm the general manager of Intelliworx in Australia. We're headquartered in Sydney in Australia, and we also have offices in London, Chicago, and Auckland. We're a global managed IT and managed security provider around the globe, and yeah, we're also a Sendmarc partner, just because with our clients and organizations that we support around the globe, email security is a hot topic amongst our providers and organizations. So we've engaged with Sendmarc to provide that level of expertise. As I previously mentioned, Sam is the CEO of Sendmarc, and he will go through this webinar to explain why we need DMARC, what DMARC is, and how it works.
Yeah, thanks so much for the introductions. Always kind of feel a bit awkward talking about DMARC because I always wonder, why do people even care? It's this like awkward sort of acronym that we as MSPs have to solve. So I'll put some personality into that today, and we'll discuss why this is important and what's been going on. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I see there's even actually an MSP on this call, a couple of MSPs and some end customers. Thank you for your time, man. And listening to me today. It's going to be interesting. That's interesting. I'm here to talk about DMARC today, which is quite a boring acronym. And I'm hoping to sort of explain, why does this even exist? So my goal today is to give everybody on this call sort of 3 reasons to care. And in those reasons, I'm hoping to explain the problem that we're trying to solve. And I hope to make it real for you as well. So given this problem that exists, let's make it real for you, and let's just also show you that it's worth fixing, and then how to fix it. And we're here to talk about something which is quite old-fashioned, and that is email. But the truth is every single organization in the world uses mail. And if you're an organization or a business or a company, email is actually a very high sort of threat vector for your organization. If you're an MSP or a managed service provider or anything like that, your customers are having problems with email all the time, right? So let's get into the problem. So there are some fundamental problems that exist with email, which have sort of been around since the beginning of mail, right? When the internet first started, email came with the internet, and the internet was a trust environment. So it was quite common when people would send you a mail, those people would be who they claimed they would be. So let's get into the problems. Right now, there's a problem with email where cyber criminals can send an email from just about anybody in the world. And we call that problem impersonation and spoofing. So this problem over here. I mean, think about that. That's insane. Cyber criminals can send a mail from the King of England or the presidents of various countries or banks or just about anybody in the world, right? The second problem that exists with mail is when we send email, it often arrives in spam, right? And that just causes a whole lot of frustrations for business. So we call that email delivery. And then the third problem that exists with mail is it's very difficult for us to actually know what's going on with our email. We have very little visibility and audits about what services are sending mail from us and is it actually arriving in the inbox. Now, our goal at Sendmarc is to globally solve all of these problems. Imagine if we could make it impossible for a cyber criminal to send a mail from your organization and protect your employees, your customers, your suppliers, your shareholders, just about everybody in the world. If we could globally stop impersonation and spoofing on your domain, that'd be a great sort of outcome. We'd solve some major problems with mail. And then the second thing is if we can just improve the way that mail works. When you send legitimate mail out of your CRM or your ERP system, let's make sure that that mail arrives in the inbox, right? So the sad truth is that 91% of cybercrime starts with some sort of email. And that's reported by Gartner and various other sort of governmental organizations. So if we can solve those three problems with mail, we can actually make the internet a safer place. And that's why we exist at Sendmarc. So I'm going to just now delve deeper into those various problems that exist. So what I'm going to ask, let's just make this a bit interactive, is I want to run an impersonation sort of demo with you. So if you could pull out your phones, here's my phone over here, and just scan this QR code. And what this QR code will do is it'll take you to an interface which looks similar to this. So you can scan this QR code on this interface as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a simulation with you. And I'm going to try and send an email from your email address. So if you scan your QR code, it'll go to this interface over here. And I'm going to ask you for two email addresses. One is your business address, and the other one is your personal address. What we're doing is we're running a simulation here. We're going to try and send an email from your business address to your personal address. And we're simulating the environment of a cyber criminal sending an email from your organization to, let's say, one of your customers. Your Gmail address could be your random customer. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to do this. Once you punch in your two email addresses, please note we're not going to log this information or share it with you or embarrass you or anything like that. What we'll do is the tool will then try and send you an email from yourself, and it'll also tell you what your domain safety score is. And this domain safety score is actually your DMARC score. If your score is 0, 1, 2, or 3, it means your domain is open to abuse. It means that cyber criminals can actually send a mail from your domain, right? And you might have actually received an email from yourself. So hopefully you've scanned that QR code, run through that process, and maybe you've received an email from yourself. But at least you have an understanding of what your attack vector looks like with regards to mail. So if we have a look at the problem of impersonation and spoofing, this is the sort of damage we see. And we see this all the time, right? We see loads of deposit fraud. So cyber criminals are sending fake invoices or invoices from organizations, and people are paying money into the wrong bank accounts, right? We see ransomware distribution. So quite a common attack that we see is sort of a ransomware executable being sent from the CEO of an organization, and then everybody in the organization clicks on it because it came from the CEO. We see loads of identity theft, sort of credit card theft. And this all often happens just with a very simple impersonation mail. So if we could stop impersonation from every organization's domain, that'd be a great outcome, right? Because it causes an enormous amount of financial loss as well as a huge reputational damage, right, for every organization in the world. And I mean, there's just loads of horror stories, and it's odd. I don't really like selling with fear or anything like that, but we've all read these sorts of things. I mean, one of the common topics which we talk about was a supplier of Boeing who lost $61 million. And even if you just look at the Australian news, I mean, I'd say once a week we're seeing reports of criminals that have stolen money from different companies and different organizations. So this just happened about 2 weeks ago. Personally, the largest sort of attack that I've had to deal with was a private equity firm paid $10 million into the wrong bank account for an investment that they were making. I mean, that's a lot of money. And it's quite sad because the private equity firm paid into the wrong bank accounts, and now the company that was supposed to get the money, they start suing each other, and everybody loses except the criminals. So our goal is to try and stop this. So I'm going to take a step back and explain, like, how did this all happen? If the internet's been around for so long, and we haven't solved this problem, how come cyber criminals can send a mail from just about anybody in the world? So if you have a look at the way email works, right, every organization in the world sends mail. So imagine you're this organization. Every organization sends mail, and they send mail to their employees, their customers, and their suppliers. And every organization is using a number of cloud services. You could be using 365 or MailChimp for your email marketing. You could be using Salesforce for your CRM or SAP or Sage. There are thousands of cloud services all over the world that businesses use all day, right? And they use those sort of cloud services for various different services. Now, the truth is these cloud services have servers all over the internet, and those servers are sending mail from your domain. Technically, there's nothing stopping an attacker doing exactly what you're doing. The same way that you're using some sort of cloud service to send mail from you, which is some random server that you have no control over, the cybercriminal can just spin up a random server somewhere in the world and send mail from your domain, right? And that's what our goal is to stop. We want to be able to stop attackers doing it and allow you to do it. And a lot of people ask me, oh, like, come on, man, I've purchased email security from our organization. What is that product doing? Now, the sort of protection that we're used to is a lot of organizations have purchased 365 or, E5 or something like that, or Abnormal or Google or Proofpoint or Mimecast. And all of these services are excellent services. They're actually essential in your email security. But what these products are doing is they're stopping fake mail being sent to your organization. So when an attacker sends a fake mail to your company or your organization, these sort of products, which we call perimeter security, stop the dangerous mail going to your employees. Now, that is essential, and it's a very good thing to do. But they cannot stop the fake mail going to people outside of your organizations, your suppliers, your customers, the rest of the world, right? And that's what our goal is. We want to extend this perimeter protection around the whole world and stop cyber criminals sending mail to your suppliers, your customers, and the rest of the world. And the way to do this and extend this perimeter protection is with this global security standard called DMARC, right? And that's what we're here to talk about. So why do people implement DMARC? So if you want to solve impersonation and spoofing on your domain, you need to implement DMARC. DMARC is a global security standard which is supported by pretty much every technology company in the world. So it's supported by Microsoft, by Google, just about everybody in the world supports DMARC. The problem is that many organizations have not implemented DMARC on their domain. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help organizations, and so is Intelliworx. We're here to help organizations implement DMARC. It's also supported by governments. It's supported by the EU. It's a government order in the US, supported by the Australian government. It is important, right? And you can see that it's supported just all over by various cybersecurity bodies. And it's important. So that's the security reason why we have to implement DMARC, and it's important. If you want to globally stop impersonation and spoofing on your domain, DMARC is the globally adopted way to do that. The second thing that's important is if you want your email to work correctly. So when an organization sends mail, it often goes into spam, right? So let's sort of explain how mail works. When you as an organization send email, you expect that mail to go to the receiver, right? But what's actually happening is when you send mail as an organization, that mail goes to your mailbox provider, and your mailbox provider could be Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, Mimecast, Proofpoint, Sophos. There's hundreds of organizations in the world that are receiving your mail. And those organizations then deliver it to the receiver, to the inbox. But these organizations, Google, Yahoo, all of these organizations, they have a whole bunch of security standards that they're expecting. So when a sender sends mail, these organizations are checking for things like SPF and DKIM and DMARC. And what they're doing is if the mail that you're sending does not comply with these sorts of things, organizations have started to reject that mail. So quite recently, about a month ago, Google said, if you're a large volume sender of mail, so you're sending more than 5,000 mails a day, we will mark you as a high volume sender, and we will stop accepting your mail if it does not comply with DMARC. And this is really just the beginning. So we're seeing the industry saying that if you have not implemented DMARC, they will stop accepting your mail. So if you've been having email delivery problems with some of your customers, or with your services or anything like that, this is one of the things which needs to be solved, DMARC. So email delivery. If you want your email delivery to improve, you have to implement DMARC. It's important. And then the third thing is, we as organizations, we often have very little understanding about what's going on with our mail. And the reason we don't have understanding is because we're using a number of cloud services to send our mail, right? And we have no idea how those organizations are sending our mail. we have no way to audit how these cloud services are sending our mail without very long, complex sort of manual processes. So the solution to all of those problems, impersonation, email delivery, and visibility and audits, is DMARC. Now, I wanted to take you through sort of why we need to implement DMARC and just summarize all of these things. So if you want the world to be able to trust your domain, DMARC solves that problem. If you want to get full visibility of every organization in the world that is sending mail from you, DMARC solves that problem. If you want to improve your email, DMARC solves that problem. And if you want to guarantee your identity on the internet, that's why we need to implement DMARC. Now, it's important to know that it sounds like I'm a big sort of supporter of DMARC. DMARC is actually a global standard. It's not something that I invented, but it's actually quite difficult to implement. Right, and you need various sort of analytics tools. So I'm going to take you through a quick case study. So this was an automotive group. It wasn't Mercedes-Benz that we implemented DMARC for. And what was happening is through some impersonation and spoofing is cyber criminals were actually stealing cars. Right, so they were faking interbranch transfers of cars. They were sending sort of all the transfer paperwork from one branch to another, arriving with a truck, and stealing cars this way. So if you want to implement DMARC, the way that you start is by adding an analysis entry to your DNS. And then we start to collect all the DMARC information. And this gives us full visibility and audit on who in the world is sending mail from this automotive group. So we added the analysis record to this organization, and we collected data for about a month, right? And we collected information on 4 million emails that were sent from their domain. We showed them that there are 4,000 servers all over the world sending mail from them, and only 42% of their mail was actually set up correctly. Now, this is, it's a highly organized organization, but they had 150 dealerships all over the country that were doing email marketing, running their own billing systems. So we showed them all this, right? And these were just some of the systems that we showed them that were sending mail from them. So this was some of the reporting that we gave them during this analysis phase. And we showed them that they were using Mimecast for their everyday mail, and their Mimecast environment was set up well, right? Well done to them. But there was actually some ways that their autoresponders weren't configured correctly, and they actually hadn't received an out-of-office reply in a very long time. They were using SendGrid for some invoices. This was their email marketing platform, an organization called Everlytic. This is also their automation. And then they had some service at Dimension Data, or NTT, which is now what the organization is called. And you can see that none of these servers actually had their email configured correctly. And this was great because they didn't have to go and do this manual audit. When we added the analysis record to their domain, we started getting data. So the way that this data works is, imagine some random server in the world gets a mail from this automotive group. That random server sends us an XML report and says, hey, I just got a mail from this company that came from this IP address. And we receive billions of records from all over the world on how this mail is being sent. So we showed this organization, this is how we need to go and configure your environments, get this to work correctly. But the sad truth is we also showed them that they were being attacked from servers out of China, Thailand, Korea, even some random servers at Virgin Media. There were servers all over the world sending fake mail from them. And we identified thousands of servers sending mail from them. Our goal is to stop this. We want to make it impossible for cyber criminals to send mail from their domains. So if an organization wants to implement DMARC, this is how it's done. Right? This is the journey to success. First part is there's an analysis phase. Right? You add a reporting entry to your DNS, and then you have to collect all of that data. The second phase is implementation. So once you've collected all of that data, you now need to go and certify your legitimate mail services. So the same way I showed you this case study over here, we collected all of this data. The second phase of this project is we now go and certify all of these mail servers over here. So we go and configure SendGrid correctly, Everlytic, Grapevine, Internet Solutions. And when all of these services turn green, we can enable protection for that organization. And once we enable protection, globally, spoofing and impersonation on that organization's domain stopped. It became close to impossible for cybercriminals to send mail from them. And I'm sort of moving to the end of this call because this is what we'd like to offer you with Intelliworx. If you're interested in DMARC and if you'd like to run this sort of process, Intelliworx is happy to do this phase 1 analysis at absolutely no cost. And with them, if you reach out to them, we will produce a full exposure report for you. So we'll show you every server in the world that is sending mail from your domain, and also give you a full DMARC project plan. And I'm going to hand over to Blake, who will discuss that in a little bit more detail. So hopefully this has been interesting. This is where we're moving towards the end of the call. If you have any questions, I encourage you to start typing those. But Blake, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I appreciate the deep dive and DMARC. It's good to put it in layman's terms and just show the attendees how DMARC works and how we can improve, the existing protections we have with perimeter security. As Sam mentioned earlier, Intelliworx is offering an email security audit for organizations across all industries who are interested in analyzing and getting more visibility and auditing what's happening with DMARC within the organization. We work closely with Sendmarc to get the best expertise regarding DMARC, and we also look at other security such as, as Sam mentioned before, the perimeter protection, configuration within M365, different SaaS platforms. So we work closely with Sendmarc to make sure that your DMARC is as best as it can be for your organization and that you're not susceptible to some of these attack vectors that Sam has outlined in this presentation. Email security is one of the pillars of our comprehensive cybersecurity offerings at Intelliworx. And if you require any more information or you require the slides from the presentation or anything like that, we're more than happy, just reach out and we're more than happy to provide extra information that you require.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if this is of interest to you, please reach out to Blake at Intelliworx. It's been great to work with you. Thank you so much, Blake. You guys have been amazing. And like I said, we'll add your domain into our DMARC environment and give you a full exposure report and project plan on how to do DMARC. And that's done at no cost. Obviously, we hope to work with you post that, but you'll get a great amount of value out of this process. So thank you very much. I'll open the floor to if there's any questions or anything like that. Thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting to everybody.
Yep. So I did see a question posted in the Q&A. So if you're okay with that, Sam, we'll just go through some of the questions and provide some answers. So Anthony has asked, how do I ensure my email security is at a comfortable level without impacting day-to-day operations?
Yeah, that's a very important question. I mean, if you think about DMARC specifically, if you implement DMARC incorrectly, you can actually break your day-to-day mail, right? And that's the risk that a lot of organizations have been very concerned about. So the beauty about DMARC is it is a data-driven approach. So a lot of what we have as engineers is that we don't really know what's going on. But the beauty about DMARC is it's a data-driven approach. You add an analysis record to the DNS, and you can actually see if the work that you've done is actually improving things. And at Sendmarc with Intelliworx, we never actually implement any level of protection until this data starts turning green. Because if you move too fast and you implement sort of levels of protection without turning the services green, you will break them. So Anthony, I hope that answers your question. This is a data-driven approach, and using this data, we can make sure that day-to-day operations don't get impacted. And it's a very important part of the process.
Yeah, I was just going to add, like leveraging the Sendmarc, the data that comes from Sendmarc, leveraging the implementation engineers from Sendmarc and Intelliworx. We've been able to implement Sendmarc in organizations that have 3,500 staff all the way down to 10 staff without impacting the day-to-day email communications, patient, systems and things like that. So, it's about having the right teams and also having the right platform to make sure you're not impacted.
Yeah, I'm very proud of Yeah, go.
So what was that, Sam?
No, you go. So Anthony, I hope that answers your question. Another question?
Yep. So the next question we've been asked is, how does Sendmarc prevent spoofing?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question. So it's not that Sendmarc prevents spoofing. It's that the global security standard of DMARC prevents spoofing, right? So let's just jump into this sort of diagram which answers that. So there are two parts to email security which are very important, right? There is what we call perimeter security. So when a cyber criminal sends a fake mail from your organization, these products over here, they've got a number of security sort of protocols that they're checking as this mail comes in. And then DMARC is one of those security protocols that they're checking. And using those security protocols, all these mailbox providers are able to determine whether or not a mail is fake or real. Right? The problem is many organizations haven't implemented DMARC on their domain. I mean, we have huge amounts of data access, and we can see that about 70%, even more, about 76% of the organizations in Australia haven't implemented DMARC yet. Yet all of the mail providers are waiting and checking for DMARC as it's coming in. So if you implement DMARC, it's actually the DMARC global security standard, which is stopping impersonation and spoofing. And it's stopping it with your employees, your suppliers, your customers, the whole world on your domain. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks for that answer, Sam. The next question we got is, for VIP users, are there any additional security measures that Sendmarc offers, or should we be mindful of anything on top of Sendmarc? It's a great question. I know Sam's touched. I'll just answer this, and then Sam, if you want to add anything, more than welcome for you to add on top. Essentially, there are other things that are outside of Sendmarc that you can look at. Sam's mentioned before, there's perimeter protection, that you can have different levels of protection versus what ecosystems you use and things like that. With Sendmarc itself, there's other cool features that have been coming through the pipeline in order to protect organizations more. Things like lookalike domain, which was something that's now in the premium offering, I think, of Sendmarc. And I think Sam can add more onto that, because lookalike domain protection is something that's pretty new for Sendmarc from our perspective, of something we're able to offer our organizations that we support.
Yeah, thanks for it, Blake. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have some VIP sort of features. The one is lookalike domains. So the first thing with DMARC is you want to secure your domain. So you want to stop cyber criminals sending mail from your actual domain. And once you've done that, then you want to start scanning the internet and look for domains which look like yours. So you often get cyber criminals registering lookalike domains, and they have like a slight spelling mistake, or they swap an L with a 1, and we call those lookalike domains. An extension of our product has lookalike domain scanning, so that's pretty cool. And then we have another feature called breach detection, where we scan the internet for breaches. So imagine one of your servers has been breached and that data has been leaked. We scan the dark web and we check if your credentials have been leaked all over the internet. So we call that breach detection. Those are the two VIP functions. We like them, but I always say to people, let's get started with DMARC. It solves so many problems for you. And then once we've solved that problem, we can get into the other areas. Thank you, Blake.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sam. We got another question. Do we need DMARC right now? I know you mentioned that I think 69% of Australian businesses don't have DMARC at this stage. So why do we need DMARC? That's a great question.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's so many things which we have to do to protect our organization. I think that the beauty of DMARC is it's achievable affordably in a fairly short period of time. So that's one reason to do it. The second reason is 91% of sort of cyber attacks are starting with mail. So if we can affect our email security significantly with a reasonable amount of effort, that's a great win. But then the third thing is our mail is starting to break. So if you don't have DMARC set up, your mail is actually starting to break and it's not arriving in other people's inboxes. So it actually means your business operations are starting to get worse. So that's why it's important now. So Google and Yahoo have just enforced DMARC, and they're forcing it on recipients. Microsoft is saying that they'll be doing the same. This has to happen. I kind of compare it with SSL for the internet. So there was a point where it was optional to have SSL on your website. Now it's enforced. So every website in the world has SSL. And if it doesn't, it just your browser starts to break that site. And email's the same. Yeah, that's what's happening with DMARC at the moment.
Yeah, thanks for that and answering the question, Sam. Appreciate it. They're all the questions that we have at the moment. So if there's no other questions, like I think Sam had a slide earlier, just reach out to myself or Anthony, who's one of our representatives in Intelliworx, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions, provide any additional information, and assist you with any organizational challenges that you're having with DMARC and email security.
Yeah, we pasted a link into the chat for if you want to sign up for this free sort of analysis, you can sign up over there, and then we'll get the process started with you. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Blake, you've been great. I look forward to working with you some more, and have a good day, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Sam. Talk to you later.